Cd22 Life Coaching with Puzzler. The Sacred Council, 22 out of 32. The Guiding Force of Puzzler. Puzzler, the guiding force of wholeness. No need to go more into separation. I am the Dhavana Puzzler, one of the 17 balancing forces of universal nature, representing the wholeness in and of everything in Crystallia, the creation. Quote, a human being is part of a whole, called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circles of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Albert Einstein. End of quote. I play a very important part in Crystallia and in the adventure of your life. You know me very well, as I am the wholeness in everything. You, however, are geniuses in separating things, from separating yourself from yourself, others and nature, and separating everything in parts and pieces. And you do this in every aspect in life. And then, looking again your entire life for the missing pieces. There is no need to separate things in creation, although you may do so for research reasons. But realize that everything is already whole and inseparable. Quote, you have come for uniting and not for separation. Malvi Run. End of quote. The cause of you separating everything in parts and pieces and looking at everything as individual and separate units is because you are disconnected from Kandu, your real true self, your soul. You are not at the same level of consciousness anymore. You have separated yourself from the source. Without realizing, you feel lost and lonely. And you're all looking for something. And that something is within yourself and not to be found outside. Although, once you unite on the inside, the unity on the outside is automatically included. Quote, the soul of man has been separated from its source, wandering in exile and in a strange land. I am a stranger on earth, Psalms 119:19, ever yearning to return to that form which is first sprang and cleave to the soul of all souls. Miriam Boxer Caravella. End of quote. Because of this separation, you look for security in the creation and look at everything being a frame of a puzzle, and then start seeking to get all the puzzle pieces together. Like man invented science, which can analyze seawater and putting all the components together in a laboratory, but no fish will be able to survive in that water. There is more to all than the eye can meet. Quote, it is a magnificent feeling to recognize the unity of complex phenomena which appears to be things quite apart from the direct visible truth. Albert Einstein. End of quote. You look at everything this way and call one piece, one man, one group, one country the true, seemingly having it all together, and then another piece, a man, a group or country, a rotten piece that needs to be destroyed. You forget to look at the essence and the wholeness that is within everything and that holds everything together. Quote, as the Greeks knew, the quest for the true cannot be separated from the quest for the good. Richard Tarnas. End of quote. You think in every aspect of your life that there is something missing, which is connected, that you are disconnected from Kandu, the Creator. As long as you think that there is something missing, you will be discontent, and funny enough, when you get that piece, what you think that is missing in any aspect of your life, you are not content again. There is always something else missing. Reconnect with Kandu as much as possible, and you will see that your life is whole and complete. It is about learning to love it all, even when you see and experience things as separate. Imagine you only love some parts of yourself, when you only accept certain parts of your partner and friends, when you only like certain actions or staff members in your business, when you only accept certain cultures and others not. The things, the characteristics, the people, and any other pieces you do not love from the puzzle called life will feel like a parasite, an outcast, and abandoned, and will rebel like a child that is not accepted and not loved. So it is all about integrating everything and everybody in your life, or living in separation and separating everything in pieces. Puzzler, knowing me and knowing what to do with me. Let's see how you unnecessarily struggle with my force in various aspects of your life, how you could change your perspective and even make some practical changes. There are endless words that can be connected to any subject, and each subject can have many books, because each subject can be approached from various perspectives or angles. Most important is not to forget that all that is said or written is merely an opinion, a truth and not the truth, because the spoken and written word is part of the creative world, created in opposites, constantly changing and bound to time, and there is always more that can be said or written about any subject. Regarding me and the Sacred Council members talking about any subject, know that this understanding applies to that information as well. The information is from our particular point of view and brought to you through the world of visionary and mystical fiction. But hopefully, it contributes to your life and assists you to experience life in a more conscious, mystical, and magical way. By hearing or reading this information, you will come to the conclusion that you know this already, and you do, because this is part of your universal and spiritual inheritance. And often, we just need one word or sentence that inspires and motivates us to do things differently, or to think about a certain subject from a different perspective. Dealing with your real self, the soul. In regards to spiritual living, realize that you separate yourself from yourselves, others and nature, and separating everything in parts and pieces. And you do this in everything in life, and then looking again your entire life for that missing piece or the missing pieces. The cause of you separating everything in parts and pieces or looking at everything as individual and separate units is because you are separated from your Creator and your real true self, the soul within. Connect through silent and inner prayer and meditation with your true self and reunite. As a soul, you will realize that all is one, whole, and inseparable. Quote, the mystical spirit that craves for a direct encounter with God, for a fresh illumination of soul, is not content with pondering a tradition, even a mystical tradition. To gain this boon, the mystic must travel the lone road of meditation, of struggling with his own opaque material self, to break the barrier that separates him from God, and to enter directly into contact with the divine mystery. Miriam Boxer Caravella. End of quote. Dealing with your mind. In regards to managing and dealing with the mind, Know that the mind loves to separate everything in parts and pieces, creating an endless puzzle to keep you busy in the world, looking for missing pieces. As long as you think that there is something missing, you will be discontent. And when you get that piece, what you think is missing, in any aspect of your life, you are not again content. There is always something else missing. You look at everything in pieces and forget to look at the essence and the wholeness that is within everything, and that holds everything together. All is already whole and complete, even your life and all what is happening in it. Quote, just as love is an orientation which refers to all objects and is incompatible with the restriction to one object, so is reason a human faculty which must embrace the whole of the world with which man is confronted. Eric Fromm. End of quote. Dealing with your body. In regards to dealing with your physical body, know that your body is a complete universe, but everything is connected. You can look at your body in parts and pieces, but do not separate them in your way of approaching it, because all is interconnected. Like having a family with many children, they all want to feel equally and cared for. In general, you are all too much in your head and separating yourself from your physical body. And because you do not really feel, because you are not connected, you eat and do things that are unhealthy. Only when it gets to a point that it becomes unbearable, you just keep on doing the same. Take better care of your physical body and connect with it by exercising and eating more simple foods and detect how things affect your body. Quote, be really whole and all things will come to you. Lao Tzu, end of quote. Dealing with communication. In regards to communication, know that any conversation needs to be whole and complete for that moment in time. Make sure that all the pieces of content are being brought together in order to be a wholesome conversation. Although letters and words are separate pieces of a conversation, but they should create a clear picture. Let each conversation be towards union and not separation. Quote, out of many, one people. Jamaican motto, end of quote. Know that when you do not communicate from the level of your soul, you are already in separation and separating things and people. Dealing with food. In regards to dealing with nutrition, are you still separating everything in calories and proteins and carbohydrates, minerals and vitamins? Just eat organic, fresh and raw foods and all you need is right within them. Be careful consuming unwholesome foods that will take your energy. Foods in their original state are already whole and complete. Except for sprouting, man depletes the wholesomeness and unity of food by endless means of preparing it through unnatural processes. Just think for a minute. A mass-produced tomato is grown with lots of artificial fertilizers, sprayed with chemicals, and grown on soil that is depleted from many nutrients because the production needs to go on. The tomato gets unripe picked, ends up in a factory where it gets ripe through an artificial process, peeled and cooked to be packed in a can. The heating process takes away the color and takes from the original taste, and for that reason color and sweeteners and salt are added, and God knows where they came from and made of. The can gets shipped and sits somewhere on a shelf until bought, opened and then put through another heating process, mixed with endless other foods. And you still think that it will do well to your body. You may call it entertainment, but do not call it food for life. Realize that all that is unwholesome which goes into your body that your body takes that what is missing from your own body. Basically, you steal the minerals and all the good stuff from your own body. You eat or consume yourself from the inside out, and parallel come the signs and symptoms and disease and prematuring old age. When you are not eating raw, try to purchase organic and whole wheat products and wholesome products, and be careful not to fall into another confusing world of supplements, of which most of them are not even absorbable by your body. Possible. When you would put them around plants who possibly can do this, you are better off to eat the plant after. So when you want to go into supplements, just look for juice-dried or freeze-dried plants. Greens and barley green and kamut, blue-green algae, spirulina, kelp, wheatgrass, hemp, and many other grasses. Quote, just as there is a trend towards high tech today, there is another trend towards high touch, homemade, and wholesome. Merrill Gardner, end of quote. Dealing with staying fit. In regards to fitness, make a new awareness. Realize that each body part is connected to your entire body. So even when you work out just one part of your body, you are training the whole and entire body. Quote, one must learn to love oneself with a wholesome and healthy love, so that one can bear to be with oneself and need not roam. Friedrich Nietzsche, end of quote. You're always separating everything in parts and pieces, and then you are looking to get it all together again, but always missing something. It is through this confusion that you always run out of time as well. When you see that all is already whole and together, you will treat all as whole and cover everything. Dealing with your life partner. In regards to your relationship, know that all is already whole and complete, for you complete each other. There is no need to separate yourself from your partner by confusing and focusing on your differences. Rather look what you have in common, or what you all can do together. Quote, lovers embrace that which is between them rather than each other. Kahil Gibran. As long as you think that there is something missing, you will feel incomplete, and you will be just running after finding a missing piece and discovering when you have found that piece that there is something missing again. Dealing with your children. In regards to parenting, are you looking at all the things your children need to get together so they can properly function in life? Realize that all the pieces of the puzzle of life you are getting and going to give them may not the pieces they will work with in their life. Quote, grown men may learn from very little children, for the hearts of little children are pure, and therefore the Great Spirit may show to them many things which older people miss. Black Elk, end of quote. Be as well aware that the child which is born in your family is not your only child. All children in the world are your children, and assist wherever you can. By means of this, you do not separate yourself. You do not separate them, and you do not separate yourself from the Eternal Father. Dealing with preserving the planet. In regards to taking care of the planet Earth, realize that as long as you feel separate from your real essence, you will see everything as separate and will do things that separate things even more. Mankind is always trying to fix parts and pieces and losing the deeper and complete picture. The destruction of the planet takes place in every aspect, and for that reason all aspects need to be included in order to regain balance. This is from a physical, mental, emotional, economic, social, and spiritual level. Quote, the reason why the world lacks unity and lays broken and in heaps is because man is disunited with himself. Ralph Waldo Emerson. End of quote. Dealing with the teenage years. In regards to the teenage years, there is no need for anybody to show that you are different. You are all different on the physical plane, but on the spiritual plane, you're all one. Stop looking at each other's differences and separating each other even more. Rather dwell on that what you have in common and where you can build on. It is easy to separate and destroy, but to unite and to be constructive takes courage. Probably everybody feels that there are so many parts and pieces missing in your life before you really can start living. But know that this is a trick of the mind, which is never satisfied with what there is or what it has. In each moment, we have all we need, and as long as we think that there is something missing, we will not be content already. This is the trick of your mind, and it will keep haunting you for the rest of your life. The only thing you have to find is your soul right within you. Quote, inside yourself or outside, you never have to change what you see, only the way you see it. Thaddeus Golas. End of quote. Dealing with getting older. In regards to dealing with getting older, are you still looking to get it all together? Haven't you realized that there will always be something missing until you reunite with the soul and the Creator? So gather all your strength and focus to become one with who you really are and unite, and you will unite with everything at the same time, as that essence is in all. Quote, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. Mark 12:30. End of quote. Dealing with stress. In regards to dealing with stress, are you running around like a madman trying to get all the pieces of your life puzzle together and make them fit? Realize that from the level of your soul, all is already together. The only thing that is missing is your inner connection to your real you, the soul and the Creator. In the world, realize that your book is also perfect for the evolvement of the soul, but not for worldly achievements. Quote, he is an eternal seeker, and all his wanderings in transmigration has been in search of what he lacks. Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. Dealing with weight. In regards to dealing with weight, are you looking at your weight dilemma as something separate from the other aspects of your life? Realize that your weight is part of all aspects of your life. You know that an exercise program, a diet, or counseling session will not work, as you need to approach your dilemma from every angle and from every aspect of living. Only a total approach will have long-term results. However, in order to go this journey, you must first accept yourself with all its plus and minuses right now. Quote, reflect upon your present blessings, of which every man has many, not on your past misfortunes, of which all men have some. Charles Dickens. End of quote. Dealing with disease. In regards to dealing with disease, are you just treating the sign and symptoms? Everything in the body-mind unit is connected. And in addition, to focus on the such-called disease part, the entire body, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, needs to be looked after. Signs, symptoms, and disease are not separate items, but a part of you that are in need to be treated as a whole. Quote, there are no extra pieces in the universe. Everyone is here because he or she has a place to fill, and every piece must fit itself into the big jigsaw puzzle. Deepak Chopra. End of quote. Dealing with emotions. In regards to dealing with emotions, are you sometimes overwhelmed by emotions? Realize that emotions belong to the world of body and mind, but not to your soul. The falling into emotions and connecting them to the world of faces, places, and events will give you even more pain than you already experience. Quote, "The arrow of separation has pierced deep into my heart." Mirabai. End of quote. Dealing with business. In regards to dealing with your professional life, are you separating all your business departments? Realize that each part affects the other, and for that reason approach your business as a whole. Your business is either being busy for ego, power and money, or you are busy with contributing to the world. Virtue of mind and quality of product and service are the requirements. Quote, "A healthy social life is found only when in the mirror of each soul the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the whole community the virtue of each one is living." Rudolf Steiner. End of quote. Dealing with destructive habits. In regards to dealing with destructive habits and addictions, realize that being involved with destructive habits is a strong side of you feeling cut off and separated. The only way to not feel this way is to reconnect with your everlasting you, your soul, which is connected to everything and everybody. When living in separation, you feel that something is missing. And when you don't find satisfaction chasing and gathering in the missing pieces, you become numb and fall into destructive habits and addictions. First of all, you must realize that nothing is missing because you are a soul and you have a perfect book. And you have to find that out. All else will leave you dissatisfied. Quote, "Where there is ego, me or you, there is separation, impermanence and pain." Hector Esponda Dubin. End of quote. Dealing with studying. In regards to studying, know that learning is for the sake of integrating yourself and not to separate yourself. When you study to make yourself stand out, to be smarter and better than others, it will also separate you from them. Making your money after you are finished with your studies in regards to having a profession is to support your livelihood, the union of your relationship or family, and not for other reasons that will cause separation. Studying and later having a profession is not meant for boosting your ego, power and money games, but towards wholesome living, which includes respecting all living things. The learning of skills and making money is not just for yourself, which would be separation, but to contribute to the world at large. Quote, "The first condition of education is being able to put someone to wholesome and meaningful work." John Ruskin. End of quote. Dealing with friendships. In regards to friendships, you could be jealous as you think that the other has something you do not have. By doing so, you only acknowledge the part which is missing by yourself, and by your friends you only acknowledge the part that they seem to have which you not have. Here is where your love for yourself and your friend stops, where separation comes to the surface and unity disappears. Quote, "In jealousy there is more of self-love than love." François de la Rochefoucauld. End of quote. Summary Puzzler. Puzzler, the guiding force of wholeness. You are geniuses in separating things. from separating yourself from yourselves, others, and nature, and separating everything in parts and pieces. You do this in every aspect of life, and then spend the rest of your life looking for the missing pieces. I am Puzzler, in charge of the balancing force of wholeness. I remind you that there is no need to separate things in creation, although you may do this for scientific reasons, and remind you that everything is already whole and complete. Summary. Everything in creation is already whole and complete, but it is man that separates the pieces and makes it into a puzzle. It is you who are, for scientific reasons, look at all the pieces as separate units, but loses perspective and loses the overall picture. Man separates himself from its creator, its soul, body, nature, and others, finding himself sitting alone in the madness of his own mind. Live a more wholesome life and consume more wholesome foods. In order to stay aware that everything is already whole and complete, prepare yourself for the day on how are you going to approach life, others, and situations. And at the end of the day, write down your changes, how you handled things differently by having been exposed to the information about Puzzler. Affirmation. Everything in life is already whole and complete, and there is no need to separate anything. Petrus. End of affirmation.